cuts in, shoots, scores! The ice, through to Brouillard, scores! Shoots, scores! The sellout crowd comes alive.
Hello and welcome to Gulls All Access. I'm your host, Andy Zilch. At just 22 years old, Lukasz Dostal is one of the most promising young talents in the Anaheim Ducks organization. The Czech goalie has 3 shutouts on the season and was just selected to represent San Diego in his first AHL All-Star game. After several call-ups to Anaheim, Dostal looks poised to make a permanent jump to the NHL. I sat down with Lukasz to learn more about the Gulls' rising star.
Lukasz Dostal, a goalie like that, as young as he is, he's just in it, and he's one of those guys, he's never ever stopping. He's always trying to get better.
Blocked by Grimaldi, a backdoor feed. Oh, Dostal! Give me a break, are you kidding me?
Lukasz Dostal, he just made another one of those plays that it should be on ESPN tonight. What a save!
The All-Star representative for the San Diego Gulls, goaltender Lukasz Dostal. It's a pleasure to welcome to the show Gulls goaltender Lukasz Dostal. Thanks a lot for joining us, and let's backdate your time all the way to your early stages of playing hockey. You're a Czech native, and people might assume you're a goaltender. Dominik Hasek is also a Czech native. Was he the inspiration for you to start playing?
I don't think he was an inspiration. My parents just wanted to do that. I'm gonna do some sport, so I just started to play soccer before the hockey. Then I played floorball. Then I did some of judo. I did all the kind of sports before I actually start playing hockey. So even though in every sport I basically play a defense, because the guys, they always wanted to score the goal, right? So I was more the guy that hey, someone needs to be in the back too. So, but as a hockey, I just I started as a player, and then kind of turned out that I was a goaltender. So
When did you move back to goaltender and stay there?
I think I played 2 years as a player, learn how to skate and stuff like that, and then we had some tournament, played 3-on-3 or 5-on-5 or whatever, and we didn't have a goaltender, so they just asked who wants to be a goaltender or something. So I was like, all right, I can give it a shot, and just worked out well, I guess.
You talked about your parents getting you engaged in sports. Were they the continual influence for you as you progressed and got older?
100%. When I was growing up, my parents, they did a hell of a job overall. They've been driving me to the practices. My mom, she always prepared the snacks. So they put a lot of pressure to the hockey, but they always wanted that I'm gonna have fun. That was the most important thing. But in the same time, they wanted that I just do everything hard and as best as I can.
When you started getting into your teenage years, when did you think you could actually make a career out of this and keep on going?
That's a good question. I had actually no idea. I always played with the older guys. I was surrounded with good coaches around me and with good teammates growing up. So when I got older, when I got under 60 national teams, and I was like, wow, you play the national team. It's the draft's gonna be soon and stuff like that. So you start dreaming about the NHL as well, and it's kind of was a kind of the goal, but it's hard to say when will that turn up point.
As you turned your attention to watching NHL games and paying attention to the North American style, was there any goaltender that you looked at and you're like, okay, I kind of want to play like him, or I really admire what he does?
Yeah, when I got older, I really loved to watch the Carey Price, because I don't want to say I'm same goaltender as Carey Price, but I just wanted to kind of play like him, because he was really composed, such a good skater in my opinion, one of the best when he was playing in the NHL. So just kind of wanted to play like him, just be composed, let the goalie just make one save at a time, and so I watched him a lot.
Coming up, we catch up with Gulls President of Business Operations, Matt Savant, to discuss all the exciting developments coming in the second half of the season, right here on Gulls All Access, presented by California Coast Credit Union. Put your boogie shoes on, grab your bell bottoms, and get ready for some Saturday night fever as the San Diego Gulls host Disco Night on Saturday, January 28th versus the Ontario Reign at 7 p.m. Join us for a disco-themed tailgate with groovy music, great food, and so much more. The first 7,000 fans in attendance will also get a free Gulls Disco beach towel that will have you feeling dynamite. So follow the disco ball and secure your tickets now by visiting sandiegogulls.com/promotions. In this week's edition of Gulls Grads, we highlight Ducks forward Troy Terry. The Ducks drafted Terry with the 148th pick in the 2015 NHL entry draft. Terry made his NHL debut with Anaheim on March 27, 2018. In 55 games with the Gulls, Terry recorded 23 goals and 57 points and helped lead the Gulls to a 2019 AHL Western Conference Finals.
Terry scores!
This season, Terry has consistently led the Ducks in goals, assists, and points, which is an impressive feat that led to his second straight NHL All-Star Game selection. To deliver the news of the All-Star selection, the Ducks turn to the icon for whom Troy is named after, Troy Aikman.
Following up on that, Bert's got a quick video here we're going to get through, and then we'll get on the...
Hey Troy, it is Troy Aikman from the Monday Night Football booth here in Indianapolis, and how cool are we to have the name Troy, first of all. Now I know why your parents named you Troy, so makes me feel really proud, but what makes me feel even prouder is the fact that the Ducks organization has given me the honor to let you know that for the second consecutive year, you, my friend, are an NHL All-Star. So, congratulations, it is well-deserved. I know your family and friends are so proud of you, as am I. And speaking of family, I understand that you and Danny are going to be proud parents with a little baby boy in 2023. So, nothing better than being a father. It's even better than being an all-star. So, enjoy that. Congratulations to you. I'm sure proud of you. And best of luck in the remainder of this season and going forward.
Troy. Wow. Wait till I show my dad. I don't make my dad cry. Thank you guys. You all know how much I care about all you guys, and you put me on the spot here, but no, let's just keep chugging along, and I love you guys. Thank you. I got to see my dad. It was definitely pretty emotional. There might have been a tear or two. I don't want to put him on the spot, but it was pretty cool for him, and just to be recognized by someone that my dad idolized, and obviously I idolized too. Just because of my age, I grew up more with the Tony Romo age, but obviously Troy Aikman is his career and who he is just as a person. Is a pretty big deal to be recognized by him, and for my dad it was a pretty special moment for him to have his son being recognized.
It's great to welcome to the show President of Business Operations for the San Diego Gulls, Matt Savant. Thank you so much for joining us, and this is a unique year, something we haven't experienced in 3 years. Finally, no COVID restrictions for the players and the coaches, and that means an expanded community outreach. So I'd like for you to review what the outreach has been over the first half of the season.
Yeah, good to see you, Andy, and I'm glad to be doing this. It's been a tough year for a variety of reasons for everybody, and COVID, coming out of COVID, it took a lot for the AHL and NHL to kind of understand what the protocols would be. So this year is our first year where we don't have restrictions to our players. And if you look at what the San Diego Gulls stand for, we're really ingrained in the community, and that's from ownership down. Our goal is to be a presence and to make an impact in the San Diego community. And without the ability to send our players and to send our coaches to the local schools and the local rinks and the hospitals, it's a real departure of who we are. So this year, we're back, we're able to get back out there, and we've taken full advantage. Just last week, we did a blood drive with the San Diego Blood Bank, and we partnered with Palomar Health, which is one of our corporate partners, and we did a blood drive, and we invited all of our fans. We had 4 of our players, we had 1 of our coaches, and they were interacting, and some of them donated blood, and just kind of hanging out with our fans that showed up. So that's just one small element. We also did our annual golf tournament. Last year, we had the golf tournament because we're raising funds for our foundation, but we didn't have players, we didn't have coaches, and it's really important to make sure that our season ticket holders and our partners and our fans are able to buy a foursome, donate that money to the foundation, and then sit in a cart and play golf with some of our players or our coaches and interact with them and get to know them on a personal level. It's been a step back to normal for us, and I know our players love it.
For anyone hearing the foundation,
Yeah.
the San Diego Gulls Foundation, they might not know what that is. Can you elaborate on what it is and what it helps?
Sure. So the San Diego Gulls Foundation is an arm of the Anaheim Ducks Foundation, and basically it's a fundraising group of people that create events. And if you walk by the concourse, you'll see our table of our community relations department, and they're auctioning off jerseys or doing surprise puck or hosting the golf tournament. All the funds that they generate go right into the foundation, and 100% of the funds are donated to San Diego-based charities. So Anaheim Ducks do the exact same thing, where they'll raise funds and then donate to local Orange County charities. So it's a really important part of our business because our ownership is very philanthropic. It's something that they have done since they bought the team in 2005 to make sure that we do everything we can to use the hockey teams to generate revenues to give back to the community. So I'm really proud of that, and it's something that has always been part of the fabric of who the San Diego Gulls and Anaheim Ducks are.
Now, we are only halfway through the season, and you mentioned we have a lot coming up with the community. What community impact do you look forward to the most in the second half of the year?
What we kind of stood on in the early years from 2015 to 2020 was the Gulls are always in the community. The Gulls are always around. The Gulls are always giving back. They're always at a hospital or a school or at the Rady Children's Rink and donating money to that. So I'm proud to get back to that understanding that if you're at a community event, you're probably going to see the San Diego Gulls.
Well, we had a Team First Mexican Heritage Night back in November, and I want to talk about some theme nights. Now, that was a wild success, and I want to know why that was such a successful night here in San Diego.
Yeah, we created the first ever for our organization Mexican Heritage Night, and really it came from Gabriela Garcia, who's in our ticket sales staff, and she brought the concept forward, and we really looked at it, and the first thing we thought is, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. We need to make sure that we are approaching the culture correctly. We want to embrace Mexican heritage. And San Diego and Mexican heritage are so closely intertwined. There's a lot of connection. Obviously, geographically, we're close to Mexico. And so our fan base has a lot of history with Mexican heritage. So we wanted to make sure we were doing it correctly. So we met with the Mexican consulate, and that's where we started. And we said, what works within this culture? How can we make sure that we're celebrating who Mexican Americans are and what they're bringing to San Diego? And so we did all kinds of things where we had the Mexican national anthem sung pregame. We designed a hat that had a Gulls logo, but it was connected to the Mexican flag. And we had mariachi bands, we had a tailgate outside to really celebrate that culture. So that was a huge success, and we had a lot of fun. So with that, we're going to revive a couple other theme nights, one of which is our St. Patrick's Day celebration. We have a lot of Irish Americans that are here in San Diego, and we did this years ago, and we designed a jersey, and it was a huge success. And it's a fun night. The Irish culture is fun, and we had a couple of drinks, and it made that part of the process. And we look forward to this year's St. Patrick's Day celebration as well.
When you have somebody who's going to come into the building for maybe the first time ever and watch a Gulls game here in the second half, what can you describe that they would expect when they come into the arena, what they will experience, and what they're going to feel when they leave?
Well, first thing they're going to feel is history. The San Diego Gulls have been in this building since 1966. So there's a really rich history of the connection between our San Diego fan base and the Gulls. And Willie O'Ree played here. His number's hanging in the rafters. So the first thing that a new fan is going to realize is this is an established team. This is an established fan base. They're going to see a rabid group, a large group of fans that are going to be having a great time, and you're going to see a very competitive team on the ice. They're going to also feel a sense of community. Once you walk through these doors, you're part of the Gulls culture, you're part of the Gulls fan base, and it's very welcoming, and it's really fun to see people interacting and connecting during the game, and that's the thing I hear the most, is that this group is so inviting, and there's so much history and there's so much education. A lot of really smart hockey people have lived in San Diego and have been to these games and can tell stories about when they won championships in the 90s and all the way back to when I mentioned Willie O'Ree played here. There's a lot of history, and it's great to see a new fan connecting with somebody that's been here for decades.
Matt, as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Coming up, we'll have part 2 of our sit down with Luke Ashto-Stahl right here on Gulls All Access, presented by California Coast Credit Union. Join us on Friday, January 27th, when the Gulls take on the Bakersfield Condors and enjoy $5 Blue Line Blonde Ales until the end of the second period. Great seats are still available and start as little as $24. Purchase now by visiting sandiegogulls.com/tickets. And now part 2 of our sit-down interview with Luke Ashto-Stahl.
My style of playing.
Robbed by Dostal!
Composed goalie, calm in the net.
Oh, Dostal! Are you kidding me?
Just always be at the right time, just be square all the time.
You have got to be kidding me!
Yeah, that's kind of my style of playing.
Last season, you made your NHL debut. What do you remember when you were told that you were playing? And then what do you remember about that game?
The moment I'm gonna probably remember forever. I remember after the game, I don't know who they play, I think it was in New York or something, and they played a back-to-back, and it was also rescheduled game. So that's why it was a back-to-back, and Satsi came after the game and he just said, hey, you're gonna play tomorrow, and I was like, what, really? And I couldn't believe it, and there was still COVID time, and I think actually the COVID was running through the locker room that time. So I was like, oh my God, we got tested every single day, right? So I was just in that time, please, hopefully I'm not gonna get tested in the morning that I'm positive before my first NHL game, So I was really nervous about that, but luckily I didn't, and the rest is history. It's just unreal.
Puck dumped in. Dostal going for it. And empty net mid. He scores! Lukas Dostal! Are you kidding me? Not only does he make 50 saves, but he shoots and scores! You have got to be kidding me!
Last season, you also had an accomplishment where you scored a goalie goal. And we've talked about this on camera, off camera, but I've never asked you, is that just the ultimate goalie dream, to score a goal?
My dad was always talking about it especially when I was young. I can't remember anymore, but he said when I was young, I always dreamed about it. I'm gonna score a goal. So yeah, I guess it was a dream. And if some goalie is gonna say it's not his dream, I think he's gonna lie, because it's kind of the accomplishment that I think every goalie wants to do. And you see every goalie in NHL or in every other pro league, at least he's gonna try it once in a while. So. It's probably, it was a cool moment, not gonna lie.
I noticed that you always juggle 3 balls and you're throwing them against the wall. Do you ever play a game? What do you do there? Do you just continuously do it until you're tired?
Just basically juggle. Just it's just part of the routine. I'm always bringing my glove to just get a feel for the hands. Just before the warm up, just the juggle. Little it's more for the eyes and for the brain to just kind of activate it. So. That's it. It's nothing, no secret behind it, really.
Well, I want to talk about your relationship with Olle Eriksson. Since you've been here in the organization, he's been right there with you every step of the way. How have you two worked so well together?
It's awesome. Not gonna lie, he's just unbelievable guy in my opinion. Works hard every day, and I'm actually real lucky to have him as a goalie partner. I'm just really blessed that I can be with Oli because, as I said, he's just unreal guy. It's gonna probably stick in my memory forever when we were in the NHL together this season. We played against Edmonton, you know, and you know, I've been facing a lot of shots there, and he was so supportive. He was like, "You're dialed in," you know. He was kind of even motivating me, you know. So that's probably something that's gonna stick in my mind. That you know, that what a teammate he is.
Now, I know this past summer you had the time of your life with the World Championship, and you were in the locker room with some guys that you looked up to, and you were talking about that just moments ago, where you were 16 years old and you were in the Czech locker room, and you were seeing some guys that you knew and you really almost idolized. But here you're playing with them. What was this summer like in that experience?
It was just awesome. You know, you are in the locker room with David Krejci, you know, Pastrňák, and a lot of guys that they used to play in KHL too. So it was pretty cool. So, but unfortunately I got hurt. But probably it was for a good cause because we got a bronze medal. We got a medal like after I think it was 10 years almost. So you know, so I was just like so happy.
Went out and today, Goss, All-Star.
You were recently named the All-Star representative for the San Diego Gulls. When you learned about that, what were you thinking? What was your emotions like?
Yeah, when the Royce said it, I was really surprised. I didn't expect it at all. I didn't really even think about it, to be honest. So it was really like surprising, but obviously pleasure surprise. You know, it's kind of lifetime experience. You know, you never know if it's gonna ever happen again. So just really grateful. You know, just exciting.
And then the last question for you: do you have any certain goals for the second half of the year?
Just win as many games as possible. Pretty simple.
I remember when I talked to you after the COVID season, and we were in the parking lot, and I asked you for goals, and then actually you said, "Stop more pucks."
Still applies. It's gonna apply till my rest of the career.
That'll do it for this show. Join us next time as we sit down with Gulls assistant coach Jason Clark. For the cast and crew, my name is Andy Zilch. Thanks for watching Gulls All Access.